guys can do better than that, can't you?
Violating
إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه
I want to feel like I'm doing
ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ومن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Indeed, all praise is due to Allah. We praise Him. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil in our soul and from our sinful deeds. Those who are guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one can misguide them. Those who are not guided by Allah, there is no guide for them. I bear witness that there is no deity, there is no God worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and messenger. O you who believe, revere Allah as you should be revered, and die not except as Muslims. I'm about to proceed. I'd like to welcome you to the Islamic Society of Leading American Muslims, otherwise known as ISLAM, Inc., and its Peace Center, an organization founded to teach this true and peaceful message of Islam and to empower and educate those who came to it so that they would be facilitated with the ability and the truth so that they could actually practice and implement this religion. So we welcome you. Is anyone here for the first time today? Okay.
Yes. No?
Yes.
Yeah. Your roommate, Antonio.
Oh, yeah. Malik, stand up.
Malik, please introduce yourself.
What about
Anna Malik.
Hi.
Malik.
My name is Malik. I live with Antonio in your house.
We're best friends.
Yeah.
We're very happy to have you. And you're from Saudi Arabia, right?
Yeah.
We're very happy to have you, Malik.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khair for
Thank you.
being here.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. And it's so good to see faces that came last week for the first time back again. We're very happy to have you again. Alhamdulillah.
Me.
That's right. And those of you who have been coming since 2007, every Sunday faithfully, we're happy to see you too. So, we've been discussing, before we get into the subject matter, I just want to mention that I had two libraries, and when I retired in 2007, a lot of the books I had a copy in my prison office. Not that I was a prisoner, I was a chaplain there. And I had a copy in my home office. Some of them I sold occasionally books. So there's some that I have extra copies of. So if you're interested in, whatever money we raise from this will go to the organization. Rushda is in charge. Rushda will tell you the Amazon.com price of these books, and that's the price that we'll sell them for.
Front and center, baby, more.
So by all means, this is a book that every Muslim should have. It's Fortress of the Muslim. It's du'as that you pray when you get in the car, when you put on a new garment. There's about 100 and some little supplications to Allah here. It's only $5, so I highly recommend that you have that if you don't have it. So I wanted to mention that. We also are continuing to do a food drive. If you can afford to bring 1 can of food or 1 bag of navy beans or something, I'm sorry to say Navy, it could have been Marine beans or Army beans, or I don't want to be prejudiced here. But a bag of beans or a can of food. We're also still collecting cell phones for Harbor House. Those cell phones, I don't need the cords, I don't need anything but the phone, and they are reverted so that they can be used for victims of domestic violence. All right. So I talked about the books. Last week, I addressed 25 chaplains from the American Chaplains Association, ACA, after class at 3 o'clock here. And I just wanted to share this with you because I talked to them about more in common than you think, about what we have in common. All of them were Christians except one who was a Buddhist. But we still shared many of the same things in common. They were very pleased with the presentation. They actually made a donation of $150 to the masjid. So alhamdulillah, that's wonderful when we have that kind of marriage in this community. It's very special. So we talked about the phone, we talked about the food. I want to remind you that after we finish with the month of Ramadan, the teaching of the month of Ramadan, we will then begin to talk about zakat again. We do that every year. We teach you how to calculate your zakat so that you can pay your zakat. Inshallah, we will be trying to do a fundraiser. So I'll be asking all of you to reach out maybe to some friends of yours and ask them if they'll support our organization. We are a 501c3, so all donations are tax deductible. I also have up here on the board the Ramadan iftars every Friday night, and that will definitely begin this Friday night. These are the dates. At 8 o'clock at 4851 South Apopka Vineland Road. Everybody listen up, this is important. This is the campus of the St. Luke's United Methodist Church. That's okay, you don't need to write it down. Everybody make sure you know it's the campus of the St. Luke's United Methodist Church. It is the fellowship hall. It is behind the sanctuary. So it's sort of in the back of the campus. So drive around to the back. Come on in, welcome. It's so good to see you. Come on in and have a seat. So everybody got that?
Yes.
Do we need to RSVP or anything?
We're gonna set up the invitation today just to know the number of people coming. See that coming in the mail sometime today and tomorrow.
So look for it. We hope to see you there. We are going to have our own Hafiz, so we will be praying Taraweeh every Friday night together here. So you won't have to deal with the crowdedness of the masjid, and everyone will be catered. So you do not have to bring anything but desserts. We're asking that you bring desserts. Okay? You do not have to bring the food, but we're asking that you bring desserts.
Brother,
Yes?
we have some sheets that we can put on the floor, but last year we had not enough. So if you guys can bring a plain table or
How many people can bring a sheet or a tablecloth that's clean or something for us to pray on?
maybe make that extra.
Alhamdulillah. So please don't forget. Should I write it up here? Just a big reminder. This all hopefully will be a memory peg for you. Sheets.
I want to say something.
Yes.
The Google group has, we invited over 100 people and only 13 people accepted the invitation. You don't see it in your spam folder. If there's a problem with the invitation, please stop by and see me before you leave today so we can invite you again. We have got to get this group transitioned because Yahoo group will close by the end of this month in Chelsea.
Please help us with that. We don't want to take people off the group. They don't want to be taken off, but we have a limit of 100 people.
That's on the punch bowl.
Oh, sorry.
Totally different.
Okay. So please work with us on the Google group to get that updated, okay?
If you don't accept the invitation, you will not get the notifications or the announcements when you are not here.
Is there anyone here that does not have the readings for the month of Ramadan? I passed them out last week. I'm going to pass them again if you don't have them. Take one. That is the recommended reading for the 30 days of the month of Ramadan. Now, something I didn't say last week is typically the Hafiz. Who is a Hafiz? Who can tell us what a Hafiz is? Person who's memorized the Quran. Typically, they finish on the 27th. Why?
Because it's related to public?
Because we don't know if there's going to be 29 days or 30. So what if they said, well, no, we're going to do it for 30 nights, and then Ramadan ended. The new moon was sighted for Shawwal. Do you understand?
Yes.
So that's why that is. And if you did not get the dua for your fasting and when you break the fast, I'll pass those around too. This is all I have today. All right? If you, If you have one already, alhamdulillah, I just wanted to bring those in.
Anybody need the draft?
We have here.
We can always write it down now. Okay. Anybody else? need the
Okay.
draft?
Now, what we talked about last week, we've been talking about, actually for a couple of months, Rajab, Sha'ban, and Ramadan. We believe, inshallah, that the moon will be sighted Tuesday night and that Wednesday will be the first day of fasting. In order for you to make sure, call your masjid. Get on the computer and put in ICO.org, Islamic Center Orlando, and they'll let you know. Now, listen, folks. Every year, one community starts on one day and the community starts on the other day. It's not a big deal. It happened in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Don't get bent out of shape about it. Alhamdulillah, just say alhamdulillah. They started, we're starting. And just start when you start, everything's wonderful. Okay? Yes, sister.
What is the meaning of expiation and vitiation?
I'll tell you. Let me get there and I'll tell you. Okay, any more questions about when it's going to begin? Okay, who would like to give us a little review of some of the things you've learned already? I don't want everybody to come at the same time now.
We learned about we have to set goals, intention,
Set goals, intentions, very good.
conditions to validate the fast,
You learned about the conditions that invalidate the fast, right?
and to validate.
Okay, what are the ones that invalidate it? If I belch, does that invalidate my fast?
No.
No, because it's not vomiting.
What if I regurgitate and they got to get the mop out?
Yes.
Very good. All right, what else? Smoking. Very good. What if I don't remember? It's my first year I've ever fasted in my life, and I walk by that little vending machine and I put a quarter in and I turn it and I get some nuts out and I put them in my mouth and say, oh my God, I forgot. Does not invalidate my fast. Very good. Good. So it sounds like you guys are listening. That's wonderful. Now, this expiation is to get rid of. So if you think of the word expire, that's the root word of expiation. So to get rid of and vitiating is, if you think of the word violate, the root word is violate. So forgiveness for violating a fast day by sexual intercourse. Okay? Now, in addition to making up the fast, one must free a sound Muslim slave. Now you may say there are no slaves today. There are. It's called human trafficking. But I don't know if you have the ability to free someone. Free a sound Muslim slave. Fast the days of 2 consecutive months, folks.
For that 30 seconds.
So, no, it ain't 30 seconds unless you are very sorry Lord. But I'm sorry I got the difference there. But, just to keep us on track, if it ain't but 30 seconds, they need to go to the therapist. Fast the days of 2 consecutive months. And feed 60 unfortunates. They need some help, don't they, Mark? Yeah, there's a term for that, but we won't get into it today. So let me clarify this again. Now, if you notice here, the woman is not obligated to expiate. Correct. So now, if your husband comes along, those of you who are married, everybody hear that?
Yeah.
This is only for married people now.
Yeah.
And says, you know, I got some real needs today, honey. I can't even focus because I got such a need. You are not responsible. But this is what he has to do. So I would tell him, listen, honey, I know you got a need, but I just want to remind you but you're gonna have to fast for 60 days consecutively. Make
After
up for
Ramadan.
it.
After Ramadan.
After
yes.
Ramadan. So you're gonna get your Ramadan back on tomorrow, and you have to fast 60 days consecutively. Or you're gonna have to feed 60 unfortunate people a little more than a half a quart of food.
So this is either one of those or all.
Either one of those, yes.
It is in Surah Baqarah.
So everybody got clear on that? I don't think it's worth it, guys. But you need to know the truth, because the truth will make you free. All right. Now, these are things that do not break the fast, just to remind you, okay? Accidental eating, involuntary vomiting, nocturnal emission. If you don't know what that is, talk to me after class. Accidental ingestion of water during ablution. Saliva. It's so funny, but I'll never forget someone who was fasting for the first time. They tried not to swallow their saliva. And they came to me and they said, Imam Sykes, it's just so hard for me not to swallow my saliva. And I said, but what on earth do you try not to swallow your saliva for? It's because I'm fasting. I said, it didn't work that way, brother. But he was so sincere, bless his heart. He was so worried he was going to lose his fasting because he was swallowing his saliva. The arrival of dawn when one is having their last bite. Don't go into a panic attack or an anxiety mode. You don't have to take any Zoloft. If the event happens to start being called and you're finishing that last bite, just swallow it and keep on trucking. That's the sunnah, okay? Very good. Momentary insanity or insanity. You know, they call it snapping. If you snap, then it's not invalidating your fast, okay? If it's momentary. Unconsciousness, yes, brother. Yes, sister, I'm sorry.
So when you say insanity, are you talking like complete like detachment from reality, or are you talking just like an angry outburst? Because a lot of people interpret snapping as, you know, screaming at someone.
When we talk about insanity, we're typically talking about someone who became extremely manic.
Okay.
Or someone typically on the verge of hospitalization maybe, or
Okay.
hospitalized.
Okay.
Someone who would more than likely need the help of a psychiatrist.
Okay.
So momentarily is the act of insanity. Like when you snap, you break your fast. You validate your fast. No, that's it.
Senile old people.
Yes, it invalidates your fast.
Also, when you become angry, it invalidates your fast. So,
Okay. When you become angry, it does invalidate your fast as well. But it doesn't say, it's not like the vomiting. For example, but it is actually. If you vomit, you quit fasting. You don't fast anymore that day. If you get angry, you should repent. You may or may not have lost your fast according to Allah. Only Allah can judge that. But, I mean, if you got angry and you cussed somebody out in the parking lot and you're fasting, you lost your fast.
Might as well put it on the schedule and make it up.
Yeah, you might as well go ahead and put that on your list for making them up. Okay.
But if you get angry and you don't let it out, you don't.
Yeah, if you get angry and you don't express it, then you've controlled yourself. But what you want to try to do is not get angry because it disturbs your inner peace. But what are you supposed to say if someone provokes you during the fast?
I'm fasting.
3 times. I'm fasting. I'm fasting. I'm fasting. You notice that I made a big smile on my face. I know some people noticed because they were laughing. If you say, I'm fasting, I'm fasting, I'm fasting, you've lost it. All right? So, in a very nice way, you want to act like you're fasting. Okay, so you want to look like you're fasting, sound like you're fasting.
When you are speaking, policeman give you a ticket, you have a right to get angry on it.
You might get angry, but I would not advise you to let him know that you're angry, particularly in Orange County or Lake County. Menstrual or postnatal flow. Okay. The insane are not obligated or obliged to make up days. That's an exception. This is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for the mentally ill.
So we have to be diagnosed.
Well, you know, usually you will be. I mean, usually if you're insane, you're going to be diagnosed because you're going to be more than likely on some pretty heavy medication.
Okay.
So just sort of keep that in mind in that respect.
Make sure you don't fall into that category.
No, you don't. I'm sorry. Mason, it sounds like you're looking for a way out. It's not going to work.
I'm not always sane.
These are recommended measures, folks. These are blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for you. Now, I gotta tell you, I'm gonna be just really, really straight out with you like I always am. Suhoor. Who knows what suhoor is? The pre-dawn meal. Very good. Is very, very difficult for some people. If I eat a suhoor, a big suhoor, the whole day is rough for me. I can't do it. I just gotta be honest. I can get up and pray and have some water and maybe a date. And I want to make sure everybody understands when I say a date, I mean a jewel date, one of those dates from Saudi Arabia that looks sort of like a prune. I'm not talking about going out with someone of the opposite sex. So please, I want to make sure you know what I mean by date. I don't want it to be misconstrued.
Banana?
Or a banana, but something light. I can't handle a lot of food for suhoor, personally.
A lot of people can.
But the thing is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given it to you. If you go to countries that are highly populated by Muslims, they get up in the morning and they line the streets with tables and they all bring their food and they eat. You know, in Egypt they eat ful, which is fava beans, hummus, cucumbers, tomatoes, eggs, cheese, lebna. I mean, you name it. They do the same thing in Palestine, right? They line.
I never lived there.
You never lived there,
Makkah.
but in Mecca, and I know in India and Pakistan, a lot of the neighborhoods they have a community suhoor, right?
I think
No,
Sister
no,
said us
no,
they
like
were bored.
in Makkah, I saw only in Makkah.
Yeah. But what about
In
India and Pakistan?
Pakistani family, they have their own children and their own family.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
But if they organize this way someday, they invite
Other people.
Yeah, reach them.
So you can get up and eat all you want if you want to do that. But my experience is that most people have a hard time fasting after they've stretched their stomach out about 5 o'clock in the morning. Hasten to break the fast when certain the sun is set. When you hear the adhan, make your intention to fast the next day. And the dua for having fasted that day, and have some water and an odd number of dates. That's the sunnah. Now, can you have 2 dates?
Yeah.
Of course you can. But if you want to get the blessing of practicing the sunnah, have 1 or 3. If you want to have 2, have 2. But if you're practicing the odd numbers, then you're going to get the blessing of emulating Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
But you won't go to hell if you only have one.
But you will not go to hell if you only have 1. Well, that's an odd number if you have 2. Nor will you be punished. Yes.
You have to eat the dates.
And you do not even have to eat the dates. It's just what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. But if you don't like dates, you don't have to eat dates. But if you like them or you can tolerate them, it's a way for you to get an extra blessing. If no dates, break the fast with water and make the dua. Okay. And here's the dua. Allahumma leka sumta wa ala razkika aftartu. Okay, very simple. I passed it around. You have it for yourself. And that's how you break it. There's some other renditions of that are longer. If you find them in books and you want to do those instead, I tried to give you the shortest and the most simple one. Did you raise your hand, sister?
No,
No, okay.
I was just memorizing what that.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
So, O Allah, for thy sake have I fasted, and now I break the fast with the food that comes from you. So when we do a potluck, typically when the adhan starts to be called, I'll have someone say it out loud so everybody gets used to it. Allahumma leka sumtu wa ala razkika aftar. Recommended measures while fasting. Remember that you all have set goals. They're written down, right? Everybody has their written down goals for the month of Ramadan, and you've been practicing in Sha'ban, right? So here are some of those recommended measures while you're fasting. Generosity and charity. This is why you will see so many fundraisers in the month of Ramadan. You will see more fundraisers in the month of Ramadan than any other time in the year. Why?
Because you get blessing, more most blessings.
Because the most blessings in giving in this month of Ramadan that's about to come upon us. Improve one's relations with family and relatives. Remember last week we talked about one of the acts of Ramadan is to reconcile with family members or those people who you have broken ties with. Hopefully you wrote that down and hopefully you've done that already. If not, you're going to do it in the month of Ramadan, inshallah. Recite Quran much. If you don't know Quran, I've given you the list. Try to read that in English. And that way you are understanding what's being recited, inshallah, that night at Taraweeh. And you're having a whole overhaul. So that way, in this 1 month, you will read the whole Quran yourself.
We had a sister who suggested if you read 5 pages after every prayer in the Quran, you would be able to get that done.
But that's 5 pages in Arabic. So that won't work on some of the English translations. So the best thing is to go by the schedule I've given you. Okay? The 5 pages, if you read 5 pages every day for a year, it may soon.
Okay, that's
Yeah, it will not work in the month of Ramadan.
Sorry. Ramadan.
Ramadan. Sorry, my tongue got twisted there. Spiritual retreat in the masjid is called itikaf. Some masjids say that women are not allowed because it's contrary to the sunnah. There were women that stayed in the masjid at the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If your masjid doesn't allow it, find one that does. If you want to stay in the masjid. If not, I recommend that a bunch of the women get together in a woman's house where there are no men and pray throughout the night. Do not get together and gossip. Do not get together and talk about how much you want a husband, because that's what you'll be talking about and that's what you'll get. Get together and pray and read the Quran all night. Do not talk about the world and don't do anything that has to do with the world. Otherwise, it's not itikaf, folks. It's not seclusion for the sake of Allah.
No phones,
Okay.
no internet.
No phone, no computers, no iPhone where you slip in there and look at, well, let's see what's going on. Let me get on my Facebook. All right, the only Facebook you want in the month of Ramadan is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Get face to face with Allah's book. That's what the kind of Facebook you want in the month of Ramadan. Try to break the fast with other people. Now, let me tell you something, folks. For those of you who have never fasted before at the masjid, and broken the fast at the masjid, I want to prepare you.
Or no mercy.
Because the reason that we have this every Friday night is to make it easy on the reverts and converts.
Actually, everybody.
And everybody, actually.
Yeah.
But the reality is that if you come to certain masajids to break your fast, you may lose your fast. Because the manners of the people, the adabs, are so poor that you will get angry. Because if you wait in line like you've been taught, default in American etiquette, believe it or not, you won't get anything to eat. Or you might just walk away feeling really badly, yes?
When the stronger people will push little tiny people back.
Exactly.
I have seen that.
Yes. My children were reared to have good manners. So they got where they didn't like to come to the masjid because there was so much ill treatment at the masjid and some people were so rude.
Yeah.
So I'm just telling you the truth of the matter. I'm very sad about it. It's heartbreaking for me to say that. But this is why we try to have a place where you come and you continue to experience the peace that you experienced while you were fasting. Because it should be the same experience. Perform ghusl if in a state of major ritual impurity before dawn. What does that mean, folks? Does anybody not know what that means? Anybody not know what that means? Okay. So, let's say that you go to bed and you are intimate with your significant other. That would mean husband if you're a woman, wife if you're a man.
Thank you.
Alright. Then before dawn, you would need to make a ghusl, which is a complete shower. Okay? You do not need to be in the shower for 30 minutes, folks. In the fiqh, in the Islamic jurisprudence, in the Islamic legal system called the Sharia, 3 liters, 3 quarts of water is what was required to take a ghusl. So when you folks stand in the shower, and for 30 minutes, you're not going to be any cleaner than if you just stood in there for 10 minutes. You're going to have to answer, though, for using 30 minutes of Allah's water. Yes, sister.
And when they talk about ghusl, they're generally talking about water. It's not necessarily soap. It's just water.
It's water. You do not have to use soap. I mean, if some people use soap, they'd have to dry, I mean, they'd like alligator skin.
But the sweating you have to do with the soap.
Well, if you've been, working in the field and stuff like that, but if you're clean already, you're right, sister. Yes.
But from what I understood, that sweating actually doesn't make you dirty. That's not one of the lists of things that makes you dirty. Sweating is just part of life.
It is.
But it smells so bad. Even some people sweating and they are praying with you.
Right. Let's say this. Sweat. When we talk about the subject matter of tahara, which it means what? Cleanliness.
Yeah.
The Quran clearly says that we don't come to the masjid stinking.
Yeah.
I have been to the masjid when it smelled worse than a gym.
Yeah.
That is haram, folks. Hey, I don't like to be haram police. I don't like that.
Yeah.
But foul odors are not supposed to be in the masjid. So if you perspire and your perspiration smells like a salt pit, you need to either get some deodorant or take a ghusl before you come up in the masjid. That's just good manners. So, okay, that's what we're talking about here.
Hazrat Khadija and they used Hazrat Khadija always used to put some kind of very thing.
And that's also a controversial issue because
Things worse.
in some schools they say that women are not actually supposed to use cologne when they go to the masjid or perfume because it attracts men. So just be aware that you may be taught that as well. You don't want to draw too much attention to yourself. So we just want to keep it, let's just keep it to the Quran and the Sunnah. That's what I want to make sure. I don't want to just say something that we don't justify by Quran and Sunnah. Alright? That's very important. We've got to stay, we can't just give an opinion. Because it's pretty clear in the hadith that women are not supposed to wear their euphoria and go to the masjid. That calls attention to other things. So, he who breaks another fast earns the same reward as the one who fasted without diminishing the latter's reward in the slightest. So, if you have the energy, the more people you feed in the month of Ramadan that are fasting, the more blessings you will get. Now let me say this. This is why I recommended that go ahead and plan it in advance. Make your samosas, make whatever you're making, put them in the freezer, and make it easy for yourself. I hope you've all planned this out. I hope you guys are not going to be fasting all day and cooking all day so that you can eat all night. That's not the purpose of Ramadan. Because that defeats the purpose. Yes, brother.
I know in the hadith it says that you need to keep your stomach a third air, a third food, and a third water. When you break your fast, does that still apply?
That applies all the time. As the Prophet Muhammad said, you should always have a third for food, a third for air, and a third for water. That is always applicable. That is the best way to eat. Yes, brother.
I guess that wasn't clear on my question. Like, if you don't do that, does that
Invalidate? No.
It doesn't invalidate your fasting. You're not going to go to hell for overeating, folks. But it's not recommended. It's not best practice. Do you know how I'm always talking to you about you can do this or this or this according to the Quran and the Sunnah, but that's the best thing to do. For example, the Quran says an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But forgiveness is better. So Cynthia gets upset in the parking lot because I took her parking space. I didn't see her running around that corner. And so she gets out and gives me a black eye. Based on the Quran, I can give Cynthia one black eye, but I can't give her two, but I never would. She's a sister. But
She never would either.
I could also say, Cynthia, it looks like to me you're having a rough day. May Allah bless you, and I hope it gets better for you. Alhamdulillah. I'm going to go work on the shiner here, and you enjoy your day, sister. That's the best practice. If she seeks peace, I don't have a choice according to the Quran. If she says, Imam Sykes, now Cynthia does not do this. I'm just having fun with Cynthia. If Cynthia says, Imam Sykes, I'm sorry, but I forgot to take my coat off this morning. And just before I knew it, I snapped and popped you in the eye. If she says that, I got to say, well, bless your heart, Cynthia. I understand. It's not a problem. You have a blessed day. Because that's what the Quran says. If they seek peace, then you seek peace. That's what the Quran says. Things to avoid. Folks, this is the trap. The shaitan will be whispering. I mean, sometimes he doesn't even whisper, he yells. He's screaming at the top of his voice.
Even though he's chained up in the one.
Yeah. Slander, lying, and foul language. Sensual pleasure during the daytime. Don't turn the oven on because you might not be able to take the heat. I think you know what I mean by that. It is not haram to do this, but it's not recommended to do bloodletting or give blood. Why? Because you get weak.
and then your body requires food and water and all that?
Yeah.
During the hours of
Is it haram?
No.
No. Not recommended though, because typically if you go to a blood drive, what do they give you as soon as they take a pint of blood from you?
Kool-Aid and cookies?
Orange juice and cookies. So that tells you something right there. Your blood sugar is dropping. Not probably a good idea. Some people can do it. Not the best practice. Particularly if this is your first Ramadan. We don't want you to faint when you step off the bus from giving your pint of blood and lose your fast. Any kind of abuse or arguing are things that you want to avoid. Making up mixed fast days. And I want you to really listen up to this, folks. It's very, very important, because if you should die, make sure that your family or someone who loves you for the sake of Allah knows what you haven't fasted so they can make it up for you. That's how important it is. Do not delay it until the next Ramadan unless you've been ill. And I'll tell you that when I had cancer, I was sick for 2 years. For 8 months, I think for almost 8 months, I was almost bedbound, right? And one delays until next Ramadan. Listen up, folks. One must pay 0.5 liters, which is 0.53 quarts, of food to the poor for each fast day missed, in addition to making it up. Everybody hear that? This is the fit of Islam. If you don't fast today, and you don't make it up during the year, and next Ramadan comes and you haven't made it up, you must still make that day up and feed the poor just a little bit more than a half a quart of food. Everybody got that? Okay. If one delays until a second Ramadan, one must pay double this amount for each day. So, don't forsake your fasting. Think about it. It is a pillar of prayer. It's an opportunity for blessing. Don't forsake it, just like you don't forsake your prayers. I'm sorry, Ridwana?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Can you make it up in the month of Shaban?
You can make it up in the month of Sha'aban. It's wonderful. My recommendation to you is to make it up as soon as possible, because what can happen?
Forget.
You're waiting till the 11th hour, the 11th month, to make it up. 11 months from then. The best thing, because particularly with my sisters, because your menstrual cycle you can't fast. If you happen to be sick, you can't fast. If you happen to be having a baby, you know, you may be breastfeeding and you can't fast. My recommendation is get it made up as soon as you can. Now, I'm going to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you again. Can you fast on Eid?
No.
Very good. Okay.
Go back one, brother. Alhamdulillah. Uh-oh. That's where we're supposed to be, yes. Yes, sister, I'm sorry.
Is it written in the hadith? Sorry,
That's a go ahead. I was Sister Afsana had her hand up first, but
If you're in a situation where you do have to give food, does it have to actually be food, or can you give money for the purpose of buying food?
you could give money for the purpose of buying food. Absolutely. No doubt about it.
So if you give money and they don't buy food with it, is that?
Well, you know, your intention was that they get food.
Okay.
This is why I give the food. Because if I give the food, I know I gave the food. But I also know if I go to the coalition and say, this is $300 for food for a month, that my intention is that that's for food, and then I fulfill my obligation. I like the idea of going to feed the poor because it just feels good to me. But in terms of what you can do, sister, absolutely. And if you give it to the masjid, like a lot of people give it to the masjid and say, please give this to families that cannot afford to eat during the month of Ramadan. A lot of people do that. Yes.
Talking about
Sorry.
feeding other people and stuff, what is going to be the day where everybody's going to fast? The Hindu community, the Jewish groups?
27.
22nd.
Okay. Are we going to meet here too?
We are going to meet here. We'll that'll be posted.
Okay.
I'm sorry, sister.
It's okay. My question was the 3-day celebration. Is that something cultural, or is it written in the Quran?
The 3-day celebration sort of is alluded to in the Sunnah, the Hadith. I will give you some proofs on that. Will you write that down for me, Mason, to give the proofs about where the 3-day celebration comes from? Because that is a controversial fiqh issue. Because some people say, we know you cannot fast on Eid.
Right.
But some people say you can begin the second day after Eid. So, make sure to remind me, I'll give you the proofs of that. Because I don't remember if I addressed that, Yahamakallah.
I just sent you.
So, if one dies with unperformed fast days, which they could have fasted but did not, then each fast day is paid for by the responsible family member with 0.51 liters or 0.53 quarts of food, or by fasting for the deceased. So, for example, I'll get you right just a minute. I'm having a brain freeze. Cynthia's mother-in-law, Sister Jamila, and please everybody pray for Sister Jamila, is sick right now. So her family, if she should meet her demise, will fast for her or feed the poor. Dr. Asia, I'm sorry.
If you're talking about 0.51 liters, like in US dollars right now, how much is that?
It's, in dollars? Let me tell you how to simplify this, folks. It's real simple. Just give somebody what you would eat as a meal. So, like what I do sometimes is I go to the halal fried chicken place on OBT, and I have them make up the standard lunch with 2 vegetables and chicken, and then I take it and I feed the people, because that's sort of what most people would eat. Now, I would not eat that much personally, but I have a smaller appetite than most men, so I would not feed people according to my appetite. I feed people according to what would be a sort of, my wife's appetite. Yes, sister.
In other countries, underdeveloped countries, and those developing countries, there is a lot of poverty, and it is better to send money there for fast.
Well,
Yes.
that you said something, I'm sorry, not going against you, what you say, sister, but I remember one time, you said, Brother Sykes said that first you have to take care of your community. There are other people here, hungry and hurting.
Most
So-
scholars say that particularly zakat, should be first given to your community. However, in the Quran, anytime you are giving sadaqah and money, your family comes first.
Yes.
Okay, so that's where that comes in. Somebody had to,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sorry.
equivalent $10 a day. We were told $10 a day would cover the fasting.
Yeah, some people do $10 a day. I can tell you something, I can do a whole lot of food for $10 a day. I think that's high personally, but I won't argue with it because you can't lose by doing $10 a day. I can tell you that I would not be able to eat a $10 lunch for the most part. I mean,
That's what you get.
And Evans, like,
but that's what I get.
when we were saying that family member could fast for that person, so if you wake up that morning and you're fasting, you can intend it for you and that person?
No,
Or
you'd have to make it up.
30 days separate.
Separate. And like the beauty of that is, let's say, I don't think she would mind, let's say Sarah and you can share it, or Sarah and you and Amjad can share it. Maybe the grandchildren would say, I like to fast some days for City. And so different families could come up with an agreement to share the number of days that she was unable to fast. But you just need to make sure it's done, because your soul is sort of on hold until your debts are paid, and that's like a debt.
Brother, is that only for immediate family, or can say like,
Yeah,
they weren't able to, I fasted a day for 60, could I do that?
Yeah, me too.
Anybody can do it, I'm sure. I don't think that would be a problem. I'm pretty sure that's safe. If your man wanted to fast some days for City, that would be fine. Just the family would need to know, because they want to make sure that responsibility is handled. Sister Megan?
What if we don't know how many days need to be made up for a family member?
Well, this is why, you see, if you don't know, you don't know. But what does that say about, if that person is sane, let's say, and a competent mind. Now let's think about something. If someone has Alzheimer's, is that considered being sane?
No.
No.
Right. So are they responsible to fast?
No.
They're not responsible.
But we can't go wrong by fasting for them though.
No.
But no, they're gonna get the blessing of you fasting for them. But I just want to make sure that the details are handled, because it's important.
The city has Alzheimer's too.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to say, I wasn't gonna put
Yeah,
City on the
that's what I was
under the
gonna
bus
say, but I
yet.
would still
But-
donate the $10 a day for
Right,
Ramadan.
yeah.
So she could.
Because I think I know City, and that would please her. She would be so happy.
She loves to fast.
Yeah.
She loves to fast.
So, anything you do, you're going to be rewarded with your intention. But just keeping in mind that if you are insane, you actually don't have to fast. If one dies and 2 Ramadans elapse, each fast paid for with 1.02 liters, which is 1.07 quarts, or the family member can both fast a day and pay that half a liter or a little over half a quart of food. Please don't throw money at me. No, I'm just kidding. For each year that making up a fast day was delayed before the deceased's death. You see, the beauty of this is how collective Islam is. So collective that we as a family should be so concerned that our loved ones aren't able to fast, and we want to make sure. So look how spiritual that is. Habibati, how many days do we need? Have you missed? You know, this is why I tell you folks, track this stuff. And share it with the people that you are in love with for the sake of Allah. That's the greatest love. And look at the beauty in that. That someone would say to me, brother, I've missed these many days. Will you make it up for me, or will you ask somebody to make it up for me? That's the beauty of this collectivity, this idea of collectivity. Yes?
I was reading the Quran in Hebrew, and the chapter that even if you give bread, you go to do fasting, breaking fast, or water, there is lots of reward.
Absolutely.
Giving a date or water.
There is a lot of reward in giving dates and water for people that are breaking their fast. And that's why you'll find some people will give cases of dates to the masjid because they want the reward of helping someone break their fast.
Yeah, that's right.
So, voluntary fasting. 6 days of the month of Shawwal, following Eid al-Fitr, which is the 9th and 10th of Muharram. This is what I mean. The day of Eid, no one is allowed to fast.
The days of the day off.
The day out. 2 days following, you absolutely can fast, and I can give you numerous authentic ahadith about that. On the full moon days of every lunar month, which are the 13th and the 2 days following it, which is 13th, 14th, and 15th. Now remember, that's of the lunar calendar. That would be the Islamic months. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
Okay. Every Monday and Thursday. The first 9 days of Dhul Hijjah. During the inviolable months, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram, and Rajab. The best fast days after Ramadan are those of Muharram, Rajab, and Sha'ban. The day of Arafah, if you are not a pilgrim. If you are performing Hajj, you cannot fast on the day of Arafah. Arafah, yes. Offensive or unlawful days of fasting. Every day of the year except the 2 Eids and the 3 days following them. I knew a person, when I first embraced Islam, that had a goal one time to fast every day of the year except the Eid. It's not recommended, folks.
Did you actually accomplish it?
Yes, he did. He was a member of a Sufi Tariqah. Fasting to the point of mental or physical harm. I hate to use this term, it's wrong.
That defeats the purpose.
Because you're supposed to, your body has rights on you. Fasting on Eids or 3 days following them, that is the thing we're going to talk about from the Sunnah. Because I just in the previous slide said that you can. But some people say it's offensive, so you may hear that.
But there it says about the 3 days.
Yes.
This was one I was asking about.
But I said I would give some proofs. The 30th of Sha'ban is considered offensive. Now, let's say that, I want to make this clear, that you don't fast on Mondays and Thursdays. And Thursday, Friday, and Saturday would be the 3 days prior to Ramadan. This is hypothetical. Everybody with me?
Yes.
Would it be acceptable to fast on Thursday and Friday of that week?
Yes. If you fast every Thursday and Friday, yes.
If
Every
it's,
Monday and Thursday, you're right.
Yeah.
but only if you.
Only if you have a habit of
If
it.
you are having a habit of it, that's fine.
Okay,
So you know about this better than anyone. You can teach this.
I fast every Monday. If Ramadan started on Tuesday, in the evening of Monday, that was okay for me to fast Monday and then start Ramadan.
Yeah. But if you weren't fasting every Monday and Thursday, it would not be acceptable for you to fast on that Monday. Did everybody understand that?
It basically has to be your weekly routine.
It has to be your habit, your sunnah, your tradition. Yes, sister.
Just a question, it says fasting to the point of mental or physical harm. If you work in a job where you're outside in the sun the whole entire day, it's not, if that means that it'll probably make you sick or give you a heat stroke or something like that to fast, is it acceptable to make it up?
That would be
Yeah.
on a voluntary
Yeah.
basis.
Yeah, I'll say
If
that.
it's-
You wouldn't have to make that up.
Yeah, if it's physical or you always have to make up your fasting, folks.
Yeah.
Always, 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 unless you are what?
Insane.
Insane. Just want to make sure that's clear, okay?
Okay,
Yes, sister.
fasting to the point of mental or physical harm, I would imagine, I'm thinking that is on any other day but Ramadan.
No.
No. Now, if you are out there fasting, let's say, I'm trying to do my fasting, most countries that are highly populated by Muslims do not work a full day during the month of Ramadan. As a matter of fact, most countries I know of, I'm thinking of Egypt and Saudi Arabia, a brother can testify to this, at 2 o'clock during the month of Ramadan they shut down most businesses, right? So they try to make sure you're not overexerted. If you get where you're speaking verbal salad, how many people know what verbal salad is?
I have no idea.
If you don't know, verbal salad is if I go out in the sun and I scorch myself and I start having and I'm trying to say in the red, could I have some water, please? That's called verbal salad. It means that I have so exhausted myself mentally I cannot speak properly. I think I'm saying, may I have some water, but I'm saying to somebody who comes to yelling. That's called verbal salad. Is that a good example, Megan?
Brother, correct me if I'm wrong to, how are you? This is that point. If you're like a builder and you work in the sun, you're building houses for the whole year, and then you have to fast during the month of Ramadan, you're still gonna be doing your work because your body it works in such beautiful ways, that your body, to my body at least, and I've seen some information about human body, it performs better when you put into stress, to extend the stress. So if you're fasting, you're going to perform better in sports, or there are people that run marathons fasting or studying in the month of Ramadan, some Olympic Games and stuff like that. So if you're used to doing work in the sun and scorching sun and stuff like that, I think your body's still going to be doing that.
No one does work in the scorching sun without drinking water, but when it's not Ramadan. Most people that I know that work outside like that, they have
Drink
to
water.
This is mandatory, or else they fall.
Now let me tell you that our youngest son Bilal used to score 30 to 32 points in a basketball game, and he would be responsible for 60% of the assists. He was like a little grasshopper, but he fasted when he played basketball. It's according to the person. Some people can do it, some people can't. This is why Allah is merciful.
Yeah.
So if you're going to get sick, folks, then you don't fast. You feed the poor, or you make it up. Please, I beg you, if you are a diabetic, please do not fast. If your doctor says you should not fast, I beg you, do not fast. Your family does not need you to be in a coma while they're going through the month of Ramadan. Allah has given you concessions. He likes for us to avail ourselves to His mercy. Yes.
What if a person with diabetes can fast if they're okay with it?
If you can fast, alhamdulillah, may Allah reward you. But if you know and your doctor says don't fast, don't fast. You know, it's like a person that has high blood pressure. Say, I'm not going to take my blood pressure medicine today, and I'm just going to have a stroke. It's not okay. But if you can do it, and you've done it before, and you don't faint, you don't go into a coma or something, most of us know our body. But if Allah tells you, I don't recommend you to fast, you should avoid fasting. Yes, brother.
Just to support what you were saying, how you mentioned earlier the importance of support, and if someone's working, I'll give you a perfect example. The NFL is about to start in a few weeks, so you have professional football players, many who are Muslims will have suhoor, and then they'll go through the day with their 6-7 hour practice. We're talking about a very physical and mentally enduring sport. So, to Imam Sykes' point into it, and Sister Deborah was saying, if you get up and eat your suhoor, you're going to burn through those calories throughout the day, and it may sustain you. You know, but as you said also, it's also an individual person. And I can't think of anything more grueling than playing football in 90-degree weather, you know, during the month of Ramadan. There's plenty of athletes who do it.
So just remember, Allah has given you the concessions, and you know, Allah likes us to take advantage of those concessions, and we all have different staminas. We all have different constitutions. So you have to, it's between you and Allah. You need to think like that too. But I had a friend in North Carolina. He had emphysema. He had diabetes. You name it, and he had it. But he could go and mow the grass at the lawn in July in North Carolina's humidity and fast and never stop. He just had that kind of constitution.
He was Palestinian.
He was a Palestinian, and he picked up children. It sounds funny, but he could pick up children with his teeth and hold them by their belt. That's how strong he was, this guy. I mean, he was a rock, so he could do it. I couldn't do it. Yes.
I have a cousin who you can say is a chain smoker, and he also does tobacco. But for some reason, he says by magic, it's not. He can absolutely stop the smoking and the tobacco for the entire month of Ramadan. It's just something that happens by the grace of Allah. So he is really addicted to the nicotine, but he can honestly go without it for the 30 days. It's amazing.
And having said that, I just want to touch on this. All scholars now say that smoking is haram.
Yeah, because you're killing yourself.
Because we now know that in every cigarette there's more than 3,000 chemicals that will kill you. So it used to be years ago, before they had the proof, the scholars would say it is makruh, which means it's distasteful to Allah. Well, let me ask you something, folks, and this is part of Allah's mercy, but if you really love Allah, why would you want to do something that's distasteful to Allah? It's like saying, you know, I really know that it annoys my wife for me to hoot the horn when she's running late, but I'll just do it anyway. Beep, 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 beep. You know, why would you do that? I mean, why would any man sit out there and beat the horn when his wife is already late?
And he's ticked off because she went.
But if he loves his wife the way we're supposed to love Allah, then he doesn't want to provoke his wife. That's not being a very good imam. So, I want to go back to itikaf, the spiritual retreat. particularly in Ramadan, particularly in the last 10 days of it, seeking Laylatul Qadr, the night of power. In Surah 97 and verse 3, it is better than 1,000 months, which is 82.3 years, if I remember correctly. So, let me tell you something, folks. Reserve yourself. Some people get in this tailspin. I think, oh my gosh, the last 10 nights I got to feed all these people that I wasn't going to feed. And they work themselves to a frenzy all day cooking, and then they miss the night of power. Let me ask you something. What's more important, to see how many people you can feed, or to avail yourself to the night of power? Something 82.3 years. It's like when you sisters hear about a sale, I'm picking on the sisters right now at Macy's, when those 85% sales,
Hot dog. Is there
or
one
2
going
for
on
1. All right, Macy. So, if you're going to make a spiritual retreat, you need to have an intention. You need to be conscious and free from major ritual impurities, which means menstruation. Men, this is not applicable to you. Although occasionally, when the adhan calls, I want to say to men, are you guys menstruating? Because they sit there like they don't hear the adhan. Men do not menstruate. Postnatal bleeding, not applicable to men. Okay. And spiritual retreat ideally is done in the masjid. Yes, sister.
I've read through Sheikh Google that even if you are menstruating or have some other medical condition where you don't have to fast, that you should eat as little as possible in that case. Just to be mindful or work on your taqwa.
That's Sheikh Google.
Okay.
Always beware your Sheikh Google. Either you're fasting or not. Now this is etiquette, Islam. This is adabs. Let's say that I happen to be a really severe diabetic. So I don't come along and all of you guys are fasting and I sit up here and have an all-you-can-eat buffet in front of you. But I don't have to fast. I've got diabetes. And I'm shoveling it in, And I'm drinking my Gatorade. And you're like a dog panting. That's not acceptable. That's not recommended.
That's rude.
Yeah, that's sort of rude, yeah. So, Islam is the final religion of Allah, the religion He approved for mankind in order for them to continually transform the affairs of their lives accordingly. In Surah Al-Mulk, Surah 67 and 14, should he not know what He created? And He is the most kind and courteous to His slaves, all aware of everything. The best community. The Islamic Ummah. Now, I just want to share for a minute, folks, that the word Ummah, where does it come from? What does mean? Mother. So there's this nurturing that takes place in this community of Islam, this collectivity. So the best womb, think about it, was the best raised for mankind. So this community of Islam should be like a womb. Does that make sense why we want to make sure that somebody else's fasting is completed? Yeah, isn't that sort of maternal? Yeah. He carried the message of Islam to other nations. It remained this way until people distanced themselves from the best book and guidance. Increasing our knowledge and practice is the pinnacle of its teaching. Increasing our knowledge and practice unifies Muslims and binds us together. You see, if we are the best individuals, then we will be the best community involved. That's why the Holy Quran talks about Tawheed, the oneness of God, Tazkiyah, the purification of the self, and the building of a society with faith. Those are the three things the Quran talks about more than anything else. Can you build a society of faith if you haven't purified yourself? No. Won't happen. Prayers to our hearts, to Iman, to faith, submitting to the moves and actions prescribed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala one by one. And I was saying to Niran on the way here today, I was thinking about how beautiful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orchestrated the affairs of mankind. In that He said the best months to fast other than Ramadan are Rajab and Sha'ban. It's like a module, folks. It's like a 3 months boot camp. But it's very sad that many Muslims do not do any preparation. They will be sitting outside on their lanai, smoking the hookah or smoking a cigarette and making a phone call to the masjid, are we going to fast tomorrow or not? So Allah, He prepares us and He recommends it. 2 months of preparation are recommended. Congregational prayers bring our consciousness back to our Lord, cause us to have mercy and compassion for each other, and distances us from transgression. That's the benefit in the prayers. This year, I'm pretty sure that most masajid will have Tarawih at 10 o'clock. Tarawih. And during the latter part of the month of Ramadan, it will probably move to 9:45. Get on the computer and look it up. The masjid that you're going to go to, you might as well go to the masjid and pray Isha as well. Get that blessing. 27 times more the blessing for praying in the masjid. Because most people go right into Tarawih or they have just a few minutes break. Yes.
I have a question about Tarawih. What if there was a masjid that was near your house, but they started the fasting day different than yours? Can you still go there?
Absolutely. That is not a problem, folks. It happened in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But this is what you're going to hear. Brother, I'm telling you, man, we have a calculation. We can't be wrong, we have a calculation. You're going to hear this. Astaghfirullah. They started yesterday. How stupid. You're going to hear this. You're going to say, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I started today. Or I started yesterday, alhamdulillah. Same thing happened at the time of Rasulullah sallam. I'm not going to have go to war about it. But there are going to be people that will lose their fasting, and guess what? They want you to lose yours. Arguing about what day to start.
That's why I always do it in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Arabia fast, that's when I fast.
Whatever you want to do. But all houses are the houses of Allah. If they start fasting on a different day than you, now some people will tell you to go to the same masjid every night because you keep up with the hafiz. Ask them, where is the proof? Where does it say that in the Quran and the Sunnah? And if it don't, then don't say it. But people will teach that mumbo jumbo. Why? Because they want to get all the collection. Or whatever is their intention. But there's no emphasis on that. All houses of God are open for you. And I think it's a blessing to visit different places. And fellowship with different people. Alhamdulillah. We have been commanded to unite when it might be possible to avoid Iblis putting in our hearts his insanity, his arrogance, and his enchanting poetry. We have been enjoined to unite whenever the joy and glamour of this world might enter our hearts, causing us to seek nearness to its delusions. Thus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the Jummah, which has been made into a day of Eid, celebration for us, which of course is Friday. Jumat. We gather on this day and are reminded of the signs and bounties of Allah. We gather to bind our hearts together. We take care of each other's needs. Eid. I want to talk about Eid because every year this also comes with certain challenges for some strange reason. You know, it's funny because I think about the Christians and even the non-Christians, they never argue about Christmas. They will not argue about Christmas.
Because I always have it on the day.
Even if people have it on the same day, they'll argue about something here. I promise you. The arguments are not only about who started what day. The arguments become personal, they become about the imam, they become about the board, they become about all kinds of people. Eid, the word derived from Ada Ya'udu, Udu. He returned. He is returning as if they are returning to it. That is the Eid. It returns every year. It returns every Friday. The word is also derived from Ada. And brother, if I say any Arabic is not correct, please correct me.
Okay.
Please, I beg you. Custom, habit, because they have become accustomed to it. The word Adal Muslimun, the Muslims celebrate Eid, meaning they witness their Eid. Eid was named Eid because it returns every year and it comes with renewed happiness. It's such a joyous day. Everybody is hugging. People are giving children gifts, dollar bills. Everybody is just it's such a blessed day. Ibn Abidin said Eid was titled by this name because in it is the customary beneficence of Allah, the Most High. That is, various forms of kindness that return every day upon His servants. From these are fitr, eating after food has been prohibited. Sadaqat al-fitr, completion of the Hajj by the tawaf of visiting, the meat from the sacrifices, and many other acts. Also because the custom in Eid is joy, happiness, cheerfulness, and gladness. And it said the Prophet ﷺ came to Medina, and the people of Medina had in Jahiliyyah, in the days of ignorance, 2 days for play and amusement. They were the day of Nairuz, New Year's Day, and the day of Mahrajan, which is the final day of the year. So the Prophet said, I came to you and you had in Jahiliyyah 2 days for play and amusement. Indeed, Allah has replaced them for you by that which is better. The day of Nahr, which is the slaughtering day, and the day of Fitr, the fast-breaking day. So, the Christians sing a song, it's the most wonderful time of the year. I'm sorry, but they're wrong. This is the most wonderful time of the year. These are the best days of the year, folks. Sheikh Ahmed Abdulrahman Al-Baina said, that is because of the 2 days, the day of Al-Fitr and of An-Nahr, are from the legislation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Most High, His choice for His creation, and because they succeeded the performance of 2 great pillars of Islam, which are the Hajj and fasting. That's supposed to have an S in it. In them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives the pilgrims and those who fast and spreads His mercy over all of His obedient creation. Identification for Aid. Ibn Umar said, Umar brought a silk outer garment that was being sold in the market. He came to the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he said, take this garment to adorn yourself with on Eid and for meeting delegations with. Allah's messenger replied, indeed, this is the garment of one who has no share of the hereafter. Umar remained as long as Allah willed him to remain and then left. Then the messenger of Allah sent to him a silk garment. So Umar came to him with it and said, O messenger of Allah, you said indeed, this is the garment of one who has no share in the hereafter, but you sent this garment to me. So the messenger of Allah said, sell it and fulfill your needs with its profit. And this is from Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, and An-Nasai, and Ahmad. Men do not wear silk, folks. It's contrary to the Sunnah. So if someone gives you a silk garment, what's the lesson here?
So you can sell it to
You can
somebody
sell
else,
it
man?
and buy yourself something that is acceptable.
But what about a silk tie?
Silk tie is not considered a garment by most scholars. It is an accessory. Silk tie does not cover my body. That's not a shirt. It's not a pair of pants. I couldn't even use a silk tie as underwear. Okay? So, silk tie is not a garment.
One question, brother.
Now, some people will argue that, by the way, but it is not a garment, folks. Let's get for rizzle for snizzle here. No man can cover himself up with a silk tie unless there's something wrong with it. Yes, sister?
I'm kind of confused, maybe I'm getting too much details, but if you have a silk garment made for a man and you're selling it, you have to make sure you sell, you cannot sell to another man. And even though if they're not Muslim, they can buy it, it's still the action of selling something, a garment that is not permissible by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
But it is permissible for a non-Muslim.
Huh?
It is permissible for a non-Muslim.
Yeah, but if I sell it to a person that is non-Muslim, I know that it's not permissible. I'm selling it to Christian or Jewish anyway.
If you go to India or Pakistan, even to Saudi Arabia, believe it or not, there are non-Muslims there. But they wear the same thing as Muslims. Non-Muslims wear silk. Before I became a Muslim, I wore silk shirts. So after I became a Muslim, I don't wear them. I can give that garment to someone who's a non-Muslim.
So you can give or sell it to a non-Muslim.
Yeah.
The blame is not on you.
That's what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said. This is authentic hadith. From Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, An-Nasai, and Ahmad.
Yeah, that's...
Yes, ma'am.
Question. I have a question about gold, because men are not allowed to wear gold. Is it the actual real gold, or can they wear gold plated?
Men are not allowed to wear gold. Period. White gold, yellow gold, plated gold, integrated gold, gold inlay, gold plate, anything gold, men are not allowed to wear gold, Islamically. Can you wear something that looks like gold?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not gold. There's all kind of fake stuff. I wouldn't. Because I know if I go to the masjid, they're going to assume and judge me for wearing gold, even though I'm wearing the cheapest Timex made. I'm just not going to ask for trouble. Can I wear titanium?
Yes.
Can I wear silver?
Yes.
You can wear platinum.
Can I wear stainless steel?
Yes.
Can I wear platinum?
Yes.
Can I wear gold?
No.
No. Very good. Does it matter whether it's yellow or white?
No.
Do we know why?
It's feminine.
No, it's just because the Prophet did not recommend it. Two hands over here and then a hand over here. We do not know except that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that gold is not recommended for men and silk is not recommended by men. Some scholars allude to the fact of extravagance, and some people allude to the fact of pride. There's some, in the hadith, there's sort of some allusions to the issues of pride and arrogance, show off, ostentation. Yes, brother.
I would like to explain why gold and silver is not good. What is good and what is bad about it? Gold and silver? Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with silver. There's no hadith or Quran about silver. It's gold.
Let me explain this. Gold is not good for a man or even a woman. But here's the beauty about Islam, here's the beauty about the Quran. When you are wearing gold, there are some small pieces that you cannot see by your eye that go through the skin and affect you in your organs, deeply in your organs. This is for a man. Here's the beauty about it for women. It does the same exact thing, but from the monthly season for the women, it got to be released, so there's no effect. I've been researching about that for a very long time.
People eat candy plated with gold and it.
Yeah, so gold is not good for anyone. Because it's
But what I'd like to do in this class is stick to what the Quran and the Sunnah says. This is great scientific information though. Because the science always, if it's true, like the brother's sharing, will be in alignment and harmony with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, because the word of Allah is perfect. Yes, sister.
So gold colored watch.
Gold colored watch is not best practice because of the fitna it creates. Is it haram?
No.
No. But not best practice, because if I get up here and I've got this shiny gold watch on, and I'm doing the khutbah, and the people out there thinking, oh, astaghfirullah, what a stupid imam, we shouldn't pray behind him. Then, of course, we would never use the word stupid, right?
Right.
Right.
So whatever they're thinking, I'm part of their thinking, because I created the thinking. So that just better just get a silver watch, get a stainless steel watch, get anything but gold. It's just best practice. All right. So we'll shut off. We'll close out with this particular slide today.
What slide number?
This is slide number 52. What the Prophet did when he got to the place of prayer, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri said, the Messenger of Allah on the day of Eid al-Fitr and Adha used to go out to the Musalla, and the first thing he would begin with was the prayer. We'll talk more about Eid inshallah next week. Any questions you have, email them to me, imamsites@gmail.com. And then we're going to start talking about zakat, because we need to take care of our zakat. The best time is the month of Ramadan. And my wife is saying something. During the month of Ramadan, just like we have since 2007, we will have class every Sunday unless I am dead or in the emergency room. This class is not canceled unless I'm dead or in the emergency room. I have taught this class in a wheelchair. I have every intention to be here unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has something else in store I don't know about.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
I'm committed to this class. I love you all for the sake of Allah. Prayer is at the masjid at 1:45 if you want to stick around that long. I look forward to seeing you next week. And I hope this will be a glorious and wonderful first week when Ramadan arrives, inshallah, on Tuesday night.
See you guys.